productivity increase. But maybe the other question is are we underestimating prices? We don't see anything of this. This is, I don't see anything of this either. This is wheat, optimistic, baseline, pessimistic. And this, in this study, they assumed to 2050 that prices would increase in real terms with between 20 and 40%. And I mean, then we have a total other scenario. And then if we have high prices and low productivity, that's another situation, which might mean the same production but more use of resources and more use of land, and the pressure on land, especially in other parts of the world. So finally, just a few discussion questions. Productivity growth will continue. I mean, we will not stop inventing things. There will be new technology, there will be new varieties, breeds, introduction of existing technology, more efficient use. Farmers will continue to be more and more efficient. The question is, if we are interested in environmental effects, is in what direction? What kind of inputs will we reduce? And as I said, when we're doing this sensitivity analysis, high productivity means low environmental impact, because in a partial part of the world like Sweden, because that means that you are reducing inputs. Of course, it depends on what inputs you are reducing. If it's just a labor saving and using more of other inputs, that means, of course, not the lower environmental impact. But on the other hand, if we have low productivity, this means also low environmental impact, because the production level will go down. What could happen is, of course, that we have high prices, which means that this is really land and agriculture production is a really scarce resource in the world. That will mean prices are going up and we cannot find better ways of doing things. And then, of course, we have a problem on how we should address global effects. If we are not producing in Sweden and the price for not producing is very costly in global terms for using land resources in other countries. Because that would happen if we cannot keep up productivity. We need to use land and put in, or other inputs and put in. We need to intensify. Land intensify, more lands per product. And finally, just a few remarks on model. It's important when we are doing this, when we are using model to try to set the development for the agriculture sector, that this should be consistent. We should see that they should be linked to the world market. We should see that prices are consistent between different markets, and and also, as you have realized, of course, there's a great uncertainty in this, and this should be reflected when you're doing these forecasts or these scenarios. Because if we are doing, for instance, taking measures to change the agriculture sector based on a specific scenario, and this does not happen, then we should not take costly measures based on very uncertain scenarios, rather having different scenarios looking at what do you say? Yeah. So I think that's my presentation.
Thank you very much. We have time for a few questions. Okay, 3.
Yes, I have a question, and I wonder what the type of farm enterprise is most adaptable to the future scenarios. What kind of farm enterprise is most adaptable? Maybe a specific production, or a specific farm size, or in there any such factors?
I mean, when we're looking at what we have done in the model, I mean, there's a lot of simplification, of course, to reality. We have only set different productivity levels in different regions in Sweden because of how the natural conditions are. It's possible to put up more efficient farms when it comes to reducing labor. When it comes to reducing other inputs, I think we have about the same for all the regions. We don't have that. We don't have the good statistics good enough to see where this input reduction will take place, where the productivity growth will take place. But we have, for meat production, of course, we don't have any productivity growth. The cattle will not be bigger and bigger. They are the same size from the rest of the world.
I think we have one question over there. Marcus first.
Okay. I have two questions actually. The first one, have you tried to estimate the uncertainty? I mean, that's very important. It's clear that these scenarios are uncertain. You presented here two, the base and the high production scenario, but one can imagine that the range is much larger. So I would expect that you started with some very optimistic and then a very pessimistic one and then try to estimate the range. That's one question. And the second, why have you focused to 2050 at the longest in your projection and not even further? We know that the Baltic Sea is very slow in the response, and actually the period after 2050 is more interesting, because if we would start to implement the Baltic Sea Action Plan in 2020 completely, we would not see any improvement for 2040, 2050. So what is the reason? Is that again the uncertainty that you have no information, or what is the basic?
Yeah, I think so. I think it's difficult enough to say something about 2020. I mean, if it's 2050, I mean, there will be a lot of new technology that we don't know of at the moment. I mean, there will be pure guesses. We know that there will be new. I mean, there's a lot of people from different institutes and universities here. I guess there will be something will happen in these places during this time, but we don't know what. So, I mean, what should we really say about technological change? In year 2045, a new invention will occur that reduces nitrogen with XX. I mean, it's very, so it will just be different scenarios with sensitivity analysis with different assumptions. And then I think it's a very good idea to look at uncertainty. But again, of course, it's difficult. What is pessimistic? What is optimistic? Of course, then we are back to some sort of expert judgment, I guess.
We will have a panel discussion within 20 minutes with all the speakers for half an hour. So I think if you could say your questions, then we'll let Peter start his speech. And I think you should